baseball fans? How you doing? It's been a little bit. We got some Hall of Fame to talk about. Baseball writers should not vote for the Hall of Fame, but Scott Rolen has made it. He is the lone man to get into the Hall of Fame this year. Todd Helton just missing. The Red Sox have found their shortstop. Well, sort of. Matt Barnes has been DFA'd. That's already 3 wins for the Red Sox this year. Arte Moreno is not selling the Angels. And that is hilarious. The White Sox are looking at a second baseman. Good evening, everyone. Hello. How you doing? Welcome to tonight's show. We're live here on YouTube, but this will be available in podcast format when the stream is done. So if you are listening to the replay of this on Spotify, Google, Stitcher, wherever, thank you for listening. But everyone, thank you for joining me tonight. Not a whole lot to talk about lately, to be completely honest with you. It has been dead. I mean, we had the Pablo Lopez trade, a few days ago now, 4 or 5 days ago. But it has just been dead. I think everyone is just getting ready for spring training at this point. Pitchers and catchers will be reporting. What is it now? A few more weeks. We're almost at the finish line, everyone. This offseason has been pretty fun, but I do think we are all ready to get the spring training. I know I am. I'm pretty excited for it. And we got a lot to talk about tonight. Thank goodness. Like I said, not a whole lot to talk about lately, but we got a full show tonight. We got Hall of Fame. We got my Red Sox finally finding their shortstop, kind of. I'll talk about that. We got the Angels. What else we got? We got the White Sox tonight. I mean, hey, full show. But everyone, before I do get started, if you are new to the channel, think about subscribing down below. If you can, hit that like button for me, everyone. That is really going to help get this out there into the algorithm. Hit the bell notification. That way you know I go live every single time. And if you can, share the stream. Go on Twitter. Go share it there. Share it on Instagram. Share it on Facebook. Share it on MySpace if people still actually use that. Go tell your grandma. Go share it anywhere you can. But also, we do have tonight's sponsor before I do get into everything, and that is BetOnline. BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting this season. Everything from the NFL playoffs to pro and college basketball, UFC, MMA, and more. You'll always find the latest playoff odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. With live betting options, free contests, and live scores for almost any sport or game imaginable. BetOnline is truly the fastest and easiest way to bet all of your favorite leagues and events. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, to receive your rewards. Bet online where the game starts. Alrighty, enough of that. We got a super chat coming in to start things hot. Nick Kowal, our loyal Mets fan here in the chat, he says, congrats to Rolen, but we'll forget all about him in a decade. Some of the greatest players of all time aren't ever going to get in, and it is a damn shame. Yes, I agree. But I am glad Scott Rolen got in. Very happy about that. To me, I think he should have gotten in last year. I don't know what it is, with the baseball writers. Don't even get me started with these baseball writers. I don't know. I don't know. Do I want to go in rant mode? Do I really want to go in rant mode? I know some of you out there are thinking, oh, here comes Robbie with another rant. But listen here. The baseball writers should not vote for the Hall of Fame. I've been saying this now for a long time. I think it's an absolute joke. I think it's very hypocritical how they do things sometimes. And I'm going to be honest with you. David Ortiz getting into the Hall of Fame, I absolutely loved it. But David Ortiz got popped for PEDs. And all of a sudden, you never heard about that ever again. But then all these other guys who also got popped for PEDs, they are not in the Hall of Fame. Like Alex Rodriguez, for instance. I'm just saying, A-Rod, I did not like A-Rod at all when he was playing for the Yankees. But I think that man should be in the Hall of Fame. Barry Bonds, obviously. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I know other people will have a different opinion as well. But let me get the music ready here. Hold on just 1 second. We're going to get the vibes going. But we got 100 people in here to start things off. I appreciate you all showing up for tonight's show. Here we go. The music is ready. Let's get to it here. So here are the results. If you're with me live on YouTube, like I said, this will be in podcast format, but I go live on YouTube with every single episode, so you'll be able to see my screen. But here are the results. Scott Rolen getting in with, what is it, 80.4% of the vote. Actually, I just want to make sure. Let me go to MLB.com and just make sure we have the exact numbers here. Taking a look. Here we go. Here are the complete results. Just want to make sure I have the right one here. So, yeah. Oh, Scott Rolen got in with 76.3% of the vote. He got in barely got in. I believe there was a 5-vote difference from where he wouldn't have made it. So, he got in at 76.3%. That is very close to not getting in. Todd Helton, unfortunately, just missing 72.2% of the vote. I mean, I think Todd Helton should get in at some point. To me, I think that guy was just absolutely out of his mind. I mean, if you go back to some of those years that he had, unbelievable years. I'll get to the stats here in just a little bit. I think Billy Wagner should be in the Hall of Fame. Andrew Jones, I absolutely think, has an argument to get in. Gary Sheffield, absolutely. I mean, honestly, just the batting stance alone with Gary Sheffield gets him into the Hall of Fame. Let's be real here. I love that guy's batting stance. The way he just wiggled the bat up there, that was awesome. Carlos Beltran is an interesting one. I think based off of stats, I think of what he did on the field, he absolutely should be in. However, he was caught up in the entire controversy with the Astros. He was right in the middle of it. He ended up not getting the Mets job because of that, with the whole sign stealing scandal. Personally, I know some people are going to disagree with me. People are going to be like, oh, Robbie likes cheaters. He likes all the cheaters. I think Carlos Beltran should be in, personally. That's just what I think. You know why? Because even if you go back to the steroid era, even if you go, look at what the Astros are doing, a lot of other teams were doing stuff when it came to sign stealing. Don't tell me that, other teams out there weren't trying to get an edge any way they could. Yeah, what was it bad to do? Obviously it was, but I guarantee you there will be some players down the road that were involved in some kind of cheating that maybe we don't even know about, who will get into the Hall of Fame at some point. I'm just saying. I don't know. That's just my own personal opinion. I think Carlos Beltran was absolutely fantastic on the field. What he did within the whole sign stealing thing, it was, I don't know. I just think personally, what he did on the field outweighs that whole thing. I don't know. Jeff Kent is an interesting one. It was his final year on the ballot. Just under 50% of the vote. Jeff Kent is really interesting because when you look at, wins above replacement, I understand, he's one of the best power hitting second basemen of all time. I don't know. Jeff Kent, to me, I personally think is Hall of Great. That's just my opinion. I completely respect your opinion if you think he should be in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, the power numbers were there, but when you look at everything else, it wasn't really up to par, with a lot of the other second basemen that were in the Hall of Fame. Again, that's just my opinion. Alex Rodriguez getting 139 votes, 35.7% of the vote. You all know how I feel. I think Alex Rodriguez, he's one of the greatest players of all time. The guy was absolutely amazing. Yeah, he got popped. And you know what? He went on, he was lying about it there for a little while. He was, dodging it, but he finally admitted it. To me, I respected that he admitted it. And he admitted it on, national television. Or whatever it was. I forget who did the interview with him back then, but I don't know. To me, I think A-Rod, I don't know. I think he's one of the greatest players of all time, and I think he should get in. It seems like he has been restoring his relationship with the public since joining the media, but I think A-Rod is, I don't know, say what you will. There's definitely been some problems with A-Rod in the past. I think he should be in, personally. Manny Ramirez. Yeah. I'm going to be a biased Red Sox fan here. I absolutely love Manny Ramirez. I think he's one of the best hitters of all time. I'm looking at what they do on the field, and Manny Ramirez, Yeah, he got popped with stuff later in his career. I don't know, man. I think Manny, he just never really had a great relationship with the media as well. He just had so many antics on the field. There was definitely some other things not even linked to PEDs, like shoving a security guard down, that was working with the Red Sox at the time because he wanted to get his family tickets or something like that. Or I don't remember if it was a security guard or someone that was like a travel secretary. I can't remember who it was, but there was little incidences like that. He was, always asking for a trade and whatnot. I don't know. To me, Manny Ramirez was one of the best hitters I ever saw, and the stats, they back it up. Omar Vizquel, I don't know if Omar Vizquel is going to get in with his off-the-field controversy. Andy Pettitte, honestly, I think Andy Pettitte should be getting some more votes than this. 17%. Bobby Abreu, 15.4%. Jimmy Rollins, 12.9%. Mark Burley, 10.8%. Francisco Rodriguez, K-Rod, 10.8%. Torrey Hunter at 6.9%. Here's what I think, man. These baseball writers, they get 10 votes. I think you should have a minimum. You should be required to pick at least 5. At least. You get to pick up to 10. You got to pick a minimum of 5. I'll even be okay if you had a minimum of 3. I think you need to pick a minimum. There needs to be a minimum. I think it's absolutely ridiculous when some of these writers turn in like a blank ballot. It is ridiculous. Like, that's embarrassing to me. That just shows you really don't know anything about baseball, in my opinion. I saw countless ballots that were empty. People that didn't even pick Scott Rolen. Scott Rolen was one of the best third basemen of all time. Unbelievable. I don't remember the names of the people that put in these empty ballots and whatnot, but shame on them. And you really should resign from your job, or you really should just never vote for the Hall of Fame ever again, in my opinion. It's an embarrassment. And if you're one of these writers out there that think you're an actual good journalist and you think you actually do good work and you didn't vote for anyone for the Hall of Fame, you should really just quit your job. Like, I really mean that. Like, you're just not good at what you do. Sorry, you shouldn't be allowed to cover baseball, in my personal opinion, because there are guys here that should have gotten a vote. Andrew Jones, you could make an argument for. I mean, Billy Wagner, just to vote for no one? Shame on you. Shame on you. And I don't know. Look, who am I? I'm just a doofus at my desk in my apartment. What do I know? But that's just me. But Scott Rolen, let's go take a look at the numbers here with Mr. Scott Rolen. I can actually just pull these up here. Scott Rolen. I honestly really liked him, man. He was just such a solid player. A career wins above replacement on Baseball Reference of a 70.1. Had over 2,000 hits. Hit 280 in his career. Over 300 home runs. 1,287 RBIs. Had a little speed in there as well. 118 stolen bases. A career on-base percentage of 364. A slugging percentage of 490. OPS career at 855, and OPS plus of 122. But with Scott Rolen, I absolutely loved the glove. You know what? Actually, that year in 2004, you had Jim Edmonds, Albert Pujols, and Scott Rolen. Those three were absolutely disgusting in that lineup. I remember that World Series, Cardinals and the Red Sox. I thought my Red Sox, they were just absolutely on fire, coming back and beating the Yankees, but I was worried about that Cardinals team, man. You could argue that St. Louis Cardinals team in 2004, you could make an argument that's the best team that didn't win the World Series. I really think that's a legit argument, because that was a pretty good team. Didn't have as much pitching as you would like, but man, that lineup was really good. You had Larry Walker in that lineup too. Edgar Renteria in that lineup. Oh, what a good lineup. But look at Scott Rolen here. In 2004, he finished 4th in MVP voting that year. He hit .314, had 34 homers, 124 RBIs, a .409 on base, a .598 slugging. That was the best of his career. Absolutely fantastic, man. And let me actually go to Scott Rolen on Fangraphs. What I really liked about Scott Rolen as well, just such a gritty player, man. Just a dirt dog kind of a player. Really gave me those Trot Nixon kind of vibes, like a guy that just got dirty. He just played the game the right way, man. But his defense was absolutely fantastic. In his career, let's go take a look at his career defensive runs saved. They actually did not log them on Fangraphs here from 96 to 2001, but from 2002 to 2012, he had 114 defensive runs saved. He had 30 defensive runs saved in 2004. I repeat, he had 30 defensive runs saved. That is absolutely phenomenal. Let me go to the all-time third baseman here. If we go to the all-time fielding third baseman on Fangraphs, what you can do is you can go, you can pick the seasons going all the way back to 1871 to 2022. And if we look at the third baseman career all-time, taking a look here, Scott Rolen at the advanced numbers, second all-time when it came to defense on Fangraphs. Adrian Beltre, the only man in front of him. Adrian Beltre in his career had 200 defensive runs saved. Man, I really wish the Red Sox had signed Adrian Beltre to an extension. He was so fun that year, man, and he did so good with the Rangers after he left. But actually, it's really scary to look that Nolan Arenado right now is in third when it comes to defense on Fangraphs, and he's got a lot of playing time left. I'm very excited to see where Nolan Arenado ends up. But Scott Rolen is second all-time, and if we actually go to defensive runs saved, he is third all-time. Nolan Arenado is actually second all-time as of right now. So that, again, that's scary to think. I think Arenado will eventually get into the Hall of Fame, I think, personally. But Scott Rolen, man, absolutely deserved to get in. And for the people that did not vote for Scott Rolen, again, shame on you. Please quit your job. Go get a job at, like, Target or something. I think that's where you need to work. You have a degree in journalism. You are I don't even know what the heck you're doing. I don't get it. But anyway, taking a look here again at the results. Taking a look. What happened to my... Hold on a second. Here we go. Just recapping really quick. All right. So, but again, Todd Helton, this was the one man that was on this list that was very close. 72.2% of the vote. I mean, what else is there to say? You know, Todd Helton, man, he had some electric years. If we go here to his career stats, man, he was just so good some of these years. If you go to his 2001 season, he had 49 homers. He hit 336 that year, a 432 on base, a 685 slugging. In 2000, he was even better. He hit 372 that year, a 463 on base, a 698 slugging, 42 homers, 147 RBIs that year. I mean, my goodness, he only struck out 61 times. He walked 103 times and struck out only 61 times. Todd Helton, I think you could argue from 1998, or no, maybe let's say 1998, where he had 25 homers that year. That stretch from 98 to 2004, even 2005, this guy was just out of his mind. He started dwindling in his career. He wasn't putting up the same kind of power numbers from 2005 until the end of his career. But man, from 1998 to 2004, he had at least 25 homers a season. From 1999 to 2004, he had at least 30 homers a season. He had back-to-back 40-homer seasons in 2000 and 2001. This guy was a machine. He was an on-base machine. In 2004, he had that 469 on base. That was the highest of his career. He was just like a nightmare. I mean, I think these numbers alone, I think if he had been able to kind of put up some... He didn't put up bad numbers later on in his career. He really didn't. They just weren't as good as when he was putting them up in that one stretch that he had. Like in 2010, he only hit 256, but his on base was 362. He only had 8 home runs that year. So he was having some, for his standards, some down years. but they were still pretty solid years. You know, and I don't know. And then there's this like off the field stuff with you know, I'm not even gonna get into whatever. That's just personal business with him. I don't know, man. I think Todd Helton should be in. I think this guy was just such an impact kind of a guy, and that stretch had over 2,500 career hits as well. You know, batting average lifetime hit 316. He had an on-base percentage of 414, an OPS of 953 lifetime. You know, 350 homers, 1,400 RBIs. I mean, come on, 2,500 hits. I mean, these are incredible numbers. If we go to the wins above replacement leaders among first basemen, he is up here. He's 17th all-time among first basemen. And you got some guys that are in the Hall of Fame behind him. You know, sure, some of these guys are veteran committee guys. But, you know, someone like Harmon Killebrew, you know, 60.3 wins above replacement. The thing with Harmon Killebrew, though, is he had all the home runs, 573 home runs. But with Todd Helton, he had the much better batting average in his career. He had a better on-base percentage in his career. You know, if we take a look actually at the slugging, his slugging percentage in his career, it was 539, where Harmon Killebrew was 509. So, you know, Todd Helton had the better slash line. You know, sure, yeah, Killebrew had a lot more home runs. But Todd Helton was just such a good hitter. Got on base. Extra base hits. You know? Yeah, sure, I love the home runs. But Todd Helton was the better hitter overall. Harmon Killebrew brought the power. I think Todd Helton should be in the Hall of Fame. That's just my opinion. If you're going to have Harmon Killebrew in, you know, I think you should have Todd Helton in. That's just my opinion. And again, it's just these people that are not voting for the Hall of Fame. Or they're not putting in a ballot. Or they're putting in a ballot, but it's empty. I think those people should be removed. If you submit an empty ballot, I think that automatically disqualifies you from voting for future Hall of Fame. For Hall of Fame voting. I think it's just ridiculous. I think there needs to be a requirement. I think you need to at least pick 3 players. I would love to say 5. But if I were to go the short end, I think you need to pick at least 3. I would even be okay if you had to pick at least 1. At least 1. Because that to me is ridiculous, man. Like, I don't know. I think there should be a minimum. Let me know what you think down below in the chat. Let me know what you think in the comments after we're done here. What do you think there should be a minimum requirement for voting? I think there should be. That's just me. Personally, I don't think anyone in the baseball media should vote. I just don't think they should. I think former players should vote because the players were on the field. They are the ones that did the work. These writers, sorry, you know, listen, I love me a passing bomb. You know, and I appreciate that he, you know, does look into some historical, you know, things and looks at stats. I do like that about Jeff Passan. Let's be real here. Jeff Passan, you know, he's not out there putting in the hard work. He's not out. These guys don't know anything about what it takes to be a major league player. I think former players should vote. I think guys that are in the Hall of Fame should vote. I think they should, you know, I don't know, maybe this is a bit of a weird idea. I think they should randomly pick some kind of a committee every single year, you know, of you know, Hall of Famers that are alive. I think there should just be a randomly picked committee where you pick, I don't know, whatever amount that you want. I don't know, pick 50 guys or I don't know, whatever. But that's what I think. You know, that way, you know, you don't have just like one set committee. You got just randomly picked. So it's, you know, so at least there's no bias, or at least you can try and prevent the bias as much as you can. But I think if you randomly pick a committee of Hall of Famers every single year, I think that at least, you know, it just gets a fresh group of guys in there. And I can understand too, where maybe that could lead to some controversy at times. Maybe there was some skewed relationships or something in the past, but I would be much more comfortable with former players in the Hall of Fame voting than writers where the only thing they have to their name is a bachelor's degree in journalism. Sorry. I don't think those people should vote for the Hall of Fame. That's just my opinion. You can disagree with me if you want. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. But taking a look here at some other guys that did miss out. There were obviously some other guys here that, you know, among first basemen that are in. To me, the Veterans Committee, those are guys that, you know, didn't get voted in by the writers and they got voted in afterwards. So, you know, I wouldn't worry about the Veteran Committee guys that are in. I would worry more about the guys that have gotten in based off of the voting. So, taking a look at some outfielders here. A couple of guys, like I said, Carlos Beltran. To me, I think Carlos Beltran is pretty close in terms of comparing a guy. I think Andre Dawson is a pretty close comparison. Andre Dawson is in the Hall of Fame. The only thing holding Carlos Beltran back was the sign stealing thing. So, you know, that's where I would like to see. Really, this is what I would like to see. I would actually be really curious. I would love to see some randomly picked Hall of Famers. I would like to see if they would vote for Carlos Beltran. Let's see what they think. They're the ones playing. They're the ones, maybe some of them, maybe were involved in some kind of a cheating scandal or something. I don't know. Whatever. But then, you know, that's what I'm saying. I want to see what their opinions would be. Really, I would like to see that. Because these players, hey, they know of maybe some stuff going on, you know, on the field that maybe we never knew about. I mean, shoot. You could even argue maybe some current players. Why not? You know, I would even be okay with that. You know, guys that are currently playing. You know, they got guys in the what do you call it? The Players Association that are like, you know, the head honchos. I would be okay with current players voting. Maybe do a mix of current players, Hall of Famers. I'd like to see what the current players would think about Carlos Beltran getting into the Hall of Fame. I think you would see a much higher percentage. Personally, I think so. But then you got, obviously, someone like Andrew Jones. I do think Andrew Jones will get in eventually. I think what holds Andrew Jones back, his batting average is pretty low at 254. The on-base percentage is a little lower than you would like at 337. The slugging at 486. But he was a power-hitting guy, and he was incredible when it came to defense. If we actually go take a look here at the all-time leaders in fielding. So let me go to the outfielders. I believe Andrew Jones, he is right up there when it comes to all-time defense. So let's go take a look. Yeah, Andrew Jones. Hold on. Let me go to the advanced numbers. He is third all-time when it comes to defense. My goodness. You got Steve Finley, number 1. You got Luis Gonzalez. Well, actually, I don't know why. Hold on. This doesn't look right. I don't know why they don't have the numbers defensively. Let me actually just go to defensive runs saved. Wow. This is actually a pretty stout list of guys. Look at Jason Hayward. Number 1 all-time in defensive runs saved. Mookie Betts at number 2. Brett Gardner at number 3. That's pretty crazy. Brett Gardner is third all-time in defensive runs saved. Alex Gordon at number 4. Ichiro at number 5. Jackie Bradley Jr. at number 6. Michael Bourne at 7. Carl Crawford at 8. And then Andrew Jones at number 9. Let me actually go to UZR. I think UZR, it kind of gives you a bit of a better picture of their career. Defensive runs saved, I think, is good to look at too. But UZR, I like looking at UZR. Andrew Jones is second all-time in UZR, only behind Ichiro. So, yeah, man, I think Andrew Jones absolutely has an argument. I do think the batting average, like I said, it does hold him back slightly. The on-base could be better. The OPS, I think, is fine. But, hey, you know, 5-time All-Star, 10-time Gold Glove. You know, I think there's an argument for Andrew Jones to get in, and I think a guy that is pretty close in comparison is Kirby Puckett. Kirby Puckett, the thing about him is he did help win 2 World Series. He had an All-Star Game MVP. He had the ALCS MVP. He had some incredibly clutch moments in his career. I mean, you know, Kirby Puckett, one of the more fun players of all time, but a 6-time Gold Glover, while Andrew Jones is a 10-time Gold Glover. Now, I don't want to use Gold Glove as the end-all, be-all. I like looking at the numbers because there have been guys that have gotten gold gloves that didn't necessarily maybe deserve a gold glove. I think players have gotten gold gloves in the past, I think solely based off of name. But when Andrew Jones has 10 gold gloves, I think there's a little something there. But to me, I think if Kirby Puckett is in the Hall of Fame, I think Andrew Jones should be in the Hall of Fame. Again, it's kind of just like a double standard kind of a thing. Getting to Jeff Kent, I am honestly, personally, again, the power from him at an all-time second, among second basemen, he's up there when it comes to the home runs. But to me, I don't know. Like, I just don't think he was great defensively. He has the offense, but he has a 55.4 wins above replacement all time. If we take a look here, that ranks him 19th of all time. But then there are some guys behind him. Some of them have gotten in through the Veterans Committee. But, he doesn't really come close when it comes to guys, like Roberto Alomar, Ryne Sandberg. Actually, I think it's crazy that Lou Whitaker is not in the Hall of Fame. I mean, I think that's absolutely insane. But yeah, Jeff Kent, I could see the argument of him being in the Hall of Fame, but then I could also see him not being in the Hall of Fame. I could see him as being more of a Hall of Great, personally. But let me actually go to the all-time defensive numbers. He is nowhere. Yeah, he was negative 17.5 defense in his career. He was not very good defensively. So that's just my opinion. I don't know. I think he's right there on the line. That's just my own opinion. Taking a look as well, we got some other guys here. And then here are some other guys that are in the Hall of Fame. You got Billy Herman. You got Bill Mazeroski. You got Bid McPhee. Johnny Evers. Rod. I can never say this one. Not Rod. Red. Shone. How do you say this? Oh, Shane Dienst. Shane Dienst. I think I'm saying that right. Red Shane Dienst. So, but these are all like veteran committee kind of guys. So, and I could see Jeff Kent maybe getting a veterans committee vote one day. But taking a look, when it comes to the right fielders, right? I mean, you got some pretty stacked names, or you got a stacked list of names here. Babe Ruth, obviously, number 1. Hank Aaron at number 2. Stan Musial, Mel Ott, Frank Robinson, Roberto Clemente, Al Kaline, Sam Crawford, Paul Wainer, Reggie Jackson, Larry Walker. I mean, you got some guys out here that were in right field that were absolutely amazing in their career. But Gary Sheffield at number 18 all-time in wins above replacement. But when you got some other guys here on this list, I think it's crazy that Sammy Sosa was I don't know. I think Sammy Sosa personally should be in the Hall of Fame. That's just my opinion. But taking a look here, Vlad Guerrero is a very close comparison to Gary Sheffield. I think the numbers are actually pretty similar. Gary Sheffield had the better wins above replacement. Vlad had the better batting average. Gary Sheffield drove in more runs, and he had more stolen bases than Vlad. Slugging percentage, Vlad was better. On base percentage, Gary Sheffield was better. And Gary Sheffield had more home runs. So he won a World Series in 1997. That was something Vlad never did. To me, I think Gary Sheffield and Vlad, they were opposite when it came, to their stats. Like, one of them was better in one thing and the other was better in another thing. But I think they evened out, and I think they both ended up having just amazing careers. They were pretty close when in total career hits. But I think if Vladimir Guerrero is in the Hall of Fame, I think Gary Sheffield should be in the Hall of Fame, personally. And then when it comes to relievers, if we're taking a look here, Billy Wagner, 14th all-time when it comes to career wins above replacement. If Raleigh Fingers is in the Hall of Fame, I think Billy Wagner should be in the Hall of Fame. Billy Wagner, 422 career saves, while Raleigh Fingers had 341 saves in almost double the innings pitched. I'm just saying. I mean, he did have some starts mixed in there as well, 37 career starts. But Billy Wagner, strikeouts per 9 in his career. He had 12 strikeouts per 9 in his career, while Raleigh Fingers was at 7 strikeouts per 9 in his career. So, to me, if Raleigh Fingers is in the Hall of Fame, I think Billy Wagner should be in the Hall of Fame. To me, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, it's kind of double standards here. Like, why are some of these other guys in when these guys currently on this list have better stats or pretty even stats? I don't know. What do I know? I'm just a doofus that sits at his desk. But, yeah, that's how I'm feeling here about the MVP voting, the Hall of Fame voting. I think it's an absolute shame that some of these voters, they call themselves baseball writers when they don't know a thing about baseball. I'm just saying. Yeah, I'll say that. And they're more than welcome. Anyone can share this. You can go tag some of those writers, and you can go post this. I'm going to say this to you. If you did not vote for the Hall of Fame, I think you're a joke. And I think you need to stop doing what you're doing. So, I don't know. Maybe is that too much? Is that too emotional for me? I don't know. Whatever. But I think it's a joke. And I think some of these players absolutely deserve to be in. Only one guy. Hey, I love that Scott Rolen got in. At least you got that right. But then so many of them didn't even vote for him. I don't know, man. That just shows they don't know anything. They don't know numbers. Anyway, let's get in. Let's get into the next story here. Moving on from the Hall of Fame. And, man, I talked about Hall of Fame. I didn't even talk about Barry Bonds, really. I didn't even talk about Roger Clemens, really. Sosa, McGuire. Put them all in the Hall of Fame. I'm just saying, whatever. I guarantee someone will probably clip that. They'll put it on Twitter, be like, oh, my God, Robbie, what an awful take. He likes cheaters. He's all for the cheaters out there. But anyway, what can you do? I think, to me, those guys that were in that era, so many of those guys were taking stuff. It was all across the league. It was the Kool-Aid at the time. It was the juicy juice, no pun intended, at the time. It was just the stuff, man. It was the secret sauce. All those guys were taking stuff, man. And if they weren't taking stuff, hey, good for them. But, hey, definitely, I think, honestly, if you weren't taking stuff and you did it the right way, I think that's absolutely fantastic. But so many players during those times were just taking everything. I don't know. What can you do? But let's get into some other news here. My Red Sox. What do you know? My Red Sox, they're still making some last-minute moves, and they have found their shortstop. And taking a look here. Adalberto Mondesi is coming to the Red Sox from the Kansas City Royals. It was a pretty even swap. Now, there is a player to be named later coming back to the Red Sox as well. So I am pretty excited to see that. I'll actually pull up the baseball trade values. It will have the trade right here. Taking a look, Josh Taylor, as of right now, this is a guy who was a really good lefty for the Red Sox not too long ago, but he had a lot of injuries last year. He didn't even pitch at all. He was pitching in the minor leagues, but this is a guy, he's a power lefty, $2.4 million worth of value. He has control. He could be a pretty solid reliever for the Royals. And for the Red Sox, Adalberto Mondesi, $1.5 million worth of value. I'm interested to see who the player to be named later is, but my guess is that player is probably going to be around maybe $500,000 to $1 million worth of value. So it ends up being a very even trade overall. Taking a look at Adalberto Mondesi, now I talked a little bit about him on Twitter today. The thing about Adalberto Mondesi that I don't like is he's only played 50 games in the last 2 seasons, and He's had a lot of problems, man. He had a lot of problems with the ACL last year. He should be good to go for this year, but I think what the Red Sox will end up doing is they're gonna have him move from shortstop, second base. They're going to have him bounce back and forth. I think he's going to be definitely more of a utility guy, but he's going to get a lot of playing time. You're going to see Kike play short some days. He's going to play second some days. He's probably going to play a ton of center field as well. That's where he was really good the last couple of years. So I think they're just going to be moving guys around. The thing with Mondesi is I think he's just going to bring a little bit more flexibility. There were talks that the Red Sox were discussing Ha-Seong Kim with the San Diego Padres. There was a little bit of a rumor out there that teams had been asking about Tanner Houck. I would have done that trade if I was running the Red Sox, but I understand if the Red Sox thought, you know what, let's just go get Mondesi. All we have to do is give up a reliever for him that we don't even use, and we get a shortstop that way, and we can also keep Tanner Houck, and he's under control for the next 5 years. I completely understand that as well. That's why I'm not mad about it. To me, with a guy like Mondesi, if he's healthy, he's going to bring you some pretty solid defense. With him, he hasn't really shown a ton of power. In 75 games in 2018, he hit 45. My God, could you imagine if he hit 45 home runs in 75 games? In 75 games, he hit 14 home runs. If that was over a full season, he was on pace for right around 30 home runs. This is a guy, if he's healthy, and we say that a lot, if he's healthy, he is a dynamic player. Look at what he did in 2018. He had 14 home runs and he stole 32 bases and had a slugging of .498. If you can get the 2018 Adalberto Mondesi, wow, I would be really stoked with that. But unfortunately, he just hasn't really shown a lot of health. In 102 games in 2019, he had 43 stolen bases. That is absolutely insane. I'm all about it. If he can play some good defense, if he can give you some speed like this and just be a bit of a terror out there and just cause problems and just disrupt things, I'm okay with that. Really. I would have loved Ha-Seong Kim. He would have brought some great defense. I thought he would have been a fun guy for the clubhouse. I thought he would have really fit in with the Red Sox. I think he would have been a great fit, and he would have been under control for 2 years, not really getting paid a whole lot of money. But I understand maybe why the Red Sox went this route. You're looking at more potential with Mondesi, but they probably think, you know what? Let's just manage his innings. Let's make sure this guy is healthy. I don't think they would have fully done this if they thought that he's probably not close to being fully healthy. So they've probably looked at some stuff, and they must be confident about him moving forward. But again, time will tell. You can't really say right now. He is projected to have a 1.2 Fangraph WAR. They're projecting him for 117 games, which would be a career high. 14 home runs. Hey, if he can do that, give you some good defense, his steamer defense for this year, they're projecting 3.2 on the defense. That's pretty solid. They're projecting on the steamer, they're projecting 13 homers, 54 RBIs, 27 stolen bases. I'm not expecting a whole lot of bat. I'm expecting speed and defense with him, and you'll get the occasional pop. And what I do like about him is he is a switch hitter, so I think that's pretty cool. I definitely think there's potential here, but I think they're going to manage his innings, and I think if you can get 100 games out of him, I'd be happy with that. I'd be happy. And at the end of the day, you get to keep your pitching depth. You get to keep Tanner Houck. Again, I would have been okay with trading for a legit shortstop that could have brought in some really good defense and a little bit of pop. And Ha-Seong Kim, his bat, I think could have been pretty nice with the green monster right there. He probably, some of his outs last year probably could have went off the monster, maybe turned into a double. And the guy's got a bit of speed too. I would have liked Ha-Seong Kim, but they probably thought they would rather take the chance on someone like Mondesi, who is a free agent after this year. So he's only got one more year, but he's only $3 million. Who knows? Maybe he ends up doing pretty good and the Red Sox end up bringing him back for another year or two. But anyway, he is a stopgap guy at the end of the day. You might as well just see what you got with him. You know Kike Hernandez can go play some short. I think they're going to end up being fine. But either way, I'm okay with this. Now, the Red Sox, in other news, to add Adam Duvall, They designated Matt Barnes for assignment. That's crazy because Matt Barnes was on a contract. He was actually getting paid quite a bit of money. This ended up being one of the very bad moves that Chaim Bloom has made, doing that extension. But he was doing really good at the time, and then they took away the sticky stuff, and he just hasn't really found it. But yeah, he's going to be owed. He was going to be owed $9.4 million. So if they can't find a trade with another team, I actually do think there's a chance you could find a trade, because last year he was not terrible. He had a 3.87 FIP and a 4.31 ERA. His strikeouts were really down, though. His walks were down. I honestly could see the Red Sox finding a trade partner. I could see a team taking a chance on him. So my bet is that he's not going to end up getting released. The problem is, though, is will the team, if he ends up getting traded to a team, will they take on that $9 million salary? Now, if we go to baseball trade values, we can actually go pull up Matt Barnes trade value. I can actually, who could use some bullpen help? I'm trying to think. What team could use some bullpen help? Let's go to the relief pitching projections as of right now. The projections, maybe a team like the Diamondbacks could take a chance on him. Maybe a team like the Marlins could take a chance on him. They've done pretty good at turning pitchers around. So maybe the Marlins could be a pretty good fit. I could actually see that. Let me put together a trade with the Marlins. The Red Sox and the Marlins, they've been talking. So maybe you can do a little bit of Matt Barnes there. So let's take a look here. Let's do Red Sox and Marlins here on baseball trade values, the best baseball trade simulator out there. And Matt Barnes, as of right now, he has a negative value. So, but the Marlins, they like money. They like money. Or they don't like paying money, but they like if you'll give them money because they're poor. So taking a look, if you paid the 9.2 for Barnes, or 9.4. So if you just paid his salary for this year, you could end up getting back some kind of a prospect. That would be a $2.7 million value if you paid his salary this year. So if they paid his salary, they'll get a prospect. So in the end, Matt Barnes, he had some really good moments with the Red Sox, but he just has not been able to figure it out. And but now what this does is this really opens up a spot for Tanner Houck in this bullpen. With Barnes slated there, it was looking like, Barnes, he's, getting paid this money. This guy's going to have to get some time out there. But now this looks like it's going to be Tanner Houck's job. A guy that's going to come in middle relief. So I'm all right with that. And I think Houck has shown that he can be good in the bullpen. He can give you some spot starts. I like the way the Red Sox bullpen is looking, and I like it a lot more now. When you take a look here at Matt Barnes, he only had a 0.1 Fangraph WAR. I was at the game when he gave up a walk-off home run to Kevin Kiermaier. I saw Matt Barnes blow a game. Or no, sorry, that wasn't him. That was Hansel Robles. Sorry, never mind. What was the other time he blew a game? Hansel Robles. He was just as frustrating as Matt Barnes. There was definitely a game that Matt Barnes blew a game. He blew a few games. I can't remember if he gave up a walk-off home run. I don't know. But anyway, it is funny. I see you in the chat, Roman Johnson. There's a lot of people that don't like Ryan Brazier. The thing with Ryan Brazier, I understand why they're keeping him. His ERA is awful, 5.78. But his projections are good at 3.61. His strikeout to walk ratio is actually pretty good. 9 strikeouts per 9 to 2 walks per 9. He just gives up home runs. But his FIP and his xFIP are good. That's just like the thing with him. I think Brazier is going to end up being fine. Either way, I like the way this Red Sox bullpen is looking. But Adam Duvall now is fully entrenched in this Red Sox roster, and Adalberto Mondesi. So it looks like the Red Sox roster is coming together. Honestly, I don't know. I'm starting to get some good feelings about this team. I think somewhere between 85, 88 wins, I think is perfectly reasonable. But you know what? I'm going to be bold. I think this team can win 90 games. I really do. I think there's going to be some good chemistry on this team. I think there's going to be some surprise players. I think there's going to be some bounce back players. I like the bullpen. I think there's more starting pitching than you've had in the last couple of years. If you go back to 2021, the Red Sox, they had guys that stepped up in the rotation. But, man, you had some just, Garrett Richards in there, Martin Perez in there. Not great names. I know Martin Perez was pretty good last year, but with the Red Sox in 2021, he was not that great overall. But if you got potential. You got James Paxton. Who knows? Maybe he could end up getting 15, 20 starts. Whitlock, I'm interested to see what he ends up doing. I think there is a chance he could end up going back to the bullpen. But I think whatever they end up doing, whatever he's doing, he has to just stay in his role the whole year. If you're going to have him in the rotation, keep him in the rotation. Kluber, I think, is going to be fine. Sale, who knows? The guy just explodes every time you just turn your head. But I don't know. I like the potential of this team. I think it could be a pretty fun team. I think they could be in the mix for a third wild card. I honestly think that. And I think there is an outside shot. They could get 90 wins. I don't know. There's just something. I like the vibe of this team. There's been a lot of Red Sox teams I've seen over the years. I think looking at some of these players, there's going to be a lot of good chemistry. I think this is going to be a fun team. When you got guys like Kike Hernandez, Justin Turner, Devers is always having a good time. Tristan Cassis is looking like he's going to be a fun young player. I mean, the guy has a mustache. It's incredible. I think this team, could really come together. That's just my opinion. What do I know? But let's get to it here. A couple more stories here. Speaking of the Kansas City Royals, there is a Kansas City Royal that is gaining some interest from the Chicago White Sox, and that is Nicky Lopez. Nicky Lopez is a guy who was extremely good a couple of years ago. Take a look at the numbers that he had in 2021. He had 300 that year, a 365 on base, a 378 slugging's not all that great. But he was pretty solid that year, man. I mean, he was just getting hits left and right. He had 22 stolen bases. But last year, he really did not produce like he did in 2021. If we actually go here to Fangraphs, Nicky Lopez. Actually, I want to go take a look at the batting average on balls in play with Lopez. It was a 347. That is very high, so that he was definitely due for some regression there. But it came down to it, and it came down to a 265 last year. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying with Luis Ariz. Nicky Lopez was very much like Luis Ariz last year, and extremely high BABIP, and then his numbers really came down. So we'll have to wait and see. I think that is a pretty good comparison there. Now I might get flamed in the comments. Oh, Luis Ariz was the batting champ. Well, Nicky Lopez was an extremely good hitter in 2021. So I don't know, but anyway, with Nicky Lopez, there's no secret here. He is a second baseman, and the White Sox need a second baseman. I don't think the Royals are going to trade Nicky Lopez to the White Sox. I don't know. I just don't see that happening. But for Nicky Lopez, if we go take a look at his current trade value, well, like I said, we still got a few more weeks here until spring training. So, there could definitely be some more moves. For the Red Sox, it's looking like they're done. So I can pretty much kind of just, maybe one more move they could make. I'm not really sure. Maybe another starting pitcher. But Nicky Lopez, he has a $6.5 million value. That kind of fits into what the White Sox have when it comes to assets to give up. They don't have an amazing farm as of right now, but they could get a deal done for Nicky Lopez. I just doubt it. I don't know, man. I doubt it. But we'll have to keep an eye on this. We got to wait and see. Who will the White Sox second baseman be on opening day? Let me know down below in the comments. And we have a hilarious story to end the night. Hilarious. I laughed my hiney off when I read this. I could not stop laughing. As soon as I saw it pop up, I just died. I absolutely died. Arte Moreno no longer pursuing sale of the Angels. Man, you got to be kidding me, man. That is just, oh, that's so brutal. That's awful. Here was the explanation. During this process, it became clear that we have unfinished business and feel we can make a positive impact on the future of the team. You know, a little spongy. I see you, man. We gotta click out of this ad, man. We got this is a family-friendly show. We can't be showing that stuff. Anyway, Arte Moreno. We feel we can make a positive impact on the future of the team and the fan experience, owner Arte Moreno says in a statement released by the club. This offseason, we committed to a franchise record player payroll and still want to accomplish our goal of bringing a World Series championship back to our fans. We are excited about this next chapter of Angels baseball. Listen here, Arte Moreno. You didn't have a change of heart because you felt like you had unfinished business. You didn't get an offer you liked. Stop it. Arte Moreno, you silly businessman. You know you didn't like any of the offers because no one wants to buy the Angels because they haven't done anything for years now. And they have Mike Trout, and they got Shohei Ohtani, and they haven't been able to do crap. That's why no one wants to buy the Angels, because it's an awfully run organization. Don't even tell me. It always starts from the top. The owner, if you don't got a good owner, if you don't got someone in place leading the crew, just driving the ship, it all trickles down. There's been so many problems within the Angels organization, man. It is, it's been bad. They haven't done anything. It's awful. The Dodgers look at the Angels and they laugh. They point their finger and be like, you guys are losers. You're losers. Losers. It's awful. Arte Moreno, he goes on to say here, we are excited about this next chapter of Angels baseball. We are grateful to the what does this say? Galatio sports partners for their outstanding efforts throughout the process that allowed us to meet with a number of highly qualified individuals and groups who expressed strong interest in the club. Strong interest, my hiney. Get out of here. They're probably showing some interest, and they probably laughed at what Arte Moreno wanted. However, as discussions advanced and began to crystallize, oh, what a word from Arte Moreno, crystallize. Oof. If only if he could make better moves for his organization than the words that he used, maybe that would actually do something. We realize our hearts remain with the Angels. Your heart does not remain with the Angels. Your heart remains with money. That's the only thing your heart remains with. And we are not ready to part ways with the fans, players, and our employees. The Angels stink, and they have stunk for a long time. And it's because of you, Arte Moreno, because you don't know what the heck you're doing. You have no idea what you're doing. I'm not saying I know what I'm doing, but this team with all these players and all this talent has not done a thing. Sorry, maybe I'm being a little harsh. I don't know. Is that just me? I'm sorry. But I don't know, man. I think it's crazy. I think they needed new ownership. I think because you have had good teams. You have had good teams. You got Anthony Rendon. This guy was really good with the Nationals, and now he hasn't done anything in the last couple of years. However, I will say I do like this Angels team. I say that every single year because it's hard not to like this team when you got players like Trout and Ohtani, but I actually do like this team. So I will kind of back off a little bit there. I do think this team, last year, I liked them last year. They were looking really good in the beginning of the season. And they lost 14 games in a row, and they absolutely fell off the face of the earth. But Rendon should be back to being healthy. You got Renfroe, who is a guy that's going to bring power. He's going to bring some okay defense out there. Brandon Drury, I really liked last year. You brought in Gio Urshela for some infield depth. I'm sure he's going to get a lot of playing time. I like Tyler Anderson. I like the addition there. I thought, to me, Tyler Anderson I think is a guy, he's just a competitor of a guy. I think he's going to bring a bit of a bulldog mentality to the Angels. I do like that. And let's see if that success can carry over from the Dodgers. We'll have to wait and see. But the Dodgers are extremely good with their pitchers. Can the Angels do the same thing with Anderson? And we'll have to wait and see. But bullpen, I still think is pretty weak. I think this definitely could be the Achilles heel of this team. I like the starting pitching. I would like another righty in this rotation. I don't know. That's just me. But I do like the rotation. I like the lineup. The bullpen scares me, though. I don't know, man. That's just me. But Arte Moreno, my goodness, you need to leave, dude. Everyone, I am going to get out of here. It is 11 o'clock here. It is 11 o'clock. It's almost bedtime. I'm extremely tired. And I have been a little bit away from the shows lately. It has just been extremely busy lately. A lot of work lately. I got a powerlifting meet coming up. My first powerlifting meet in 5 years. I've been going pretty hard at that. I'm not going to lie. My body feels pretty broken at the moment. But whenever there's something to talk about, I will talk about it. And absolutely a lot to talk about tonight. Baseball writers out there, you guys stink. You're awful. Quit your jobs. And Arte Moreno, please quit your job. Everyone, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you for watching tonight. If you can, on the way out, hit that like button for me. Hit the subscribe button if you are new. We're trying to get to 30K by opening day. Hit the share button for those people that were not able to get in here. Hit the bell notification. That way you know I go live every single time. I'm out of here, everyone. I'm going to fall asleep in the next probably 30 minutes. Have yourself a great night, everyone. And as always, I'll talk to you next time.